This conference will now be recorded.
Board of Trustees work session meeting for October 17th to order at 6:06 p.m. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Speed hump installation. So as we can see, the work on Van Brunt from that Brookhaven was doing, we were kind of coordinating with them so we weren't hogging too much of the road. And we didn't want to be doing our speed bumps while they were doing the paving. So they will be done. So we will be moving forward with the speed hump installation. We have gone through, I have reached out to a number of providers and have only gotten one response for a $7,200 for the installation of the speed humps. They're pricey. I am waiting on, I reached out because we have that IMA with Brookhaven. I reached out to them to see if it's something that they could also do and waiting to hear back from them. But we have a lot of residents who are anxious to get it going. So I think for the sake of right now, our only bid is 7,200. I'm expecting we're going to get a couple more, but if that's, I think we should not exceed that number and just push it through.
Approve the not to exceed.
Yeah. As far as the installation, we're going to have to do the signs first. I think we're going to have to do the signs. Dave can do the signs. So we're going to do the signs probably the week before, mark it out. I'll go down there with some spray paint unless anybody else wants to do it.
They have no weather.
No, I mean, we're going to put them in
But
because,
we'll-
I mean, we're not going to have we won't have the budget to pull them out and put them back in at $7,200 a pop, right? So they're going in and we go through the winter and we see what they look like because it's a pilot program. If plows are already advised, we're going to put the signs up. We'll see how they do because, worst case scenario, they fail. But we can't afford to put them in and out. We can't spend $14,000 every year to take them in and out. So they either work or they don't. Right? Okay. Budget reviews and transfers. Ron sent over. We passed the resolution in the spring as far as having the twice a year transfers. So we're approaching our fall transfer. We'll probably do the next one. I'm guessing. Ron, are you there?
Yes, I am. Thanks.
Hi. We're probably going to do the other one. I'm going to think in the spring before the budget. Correct?
Yes, we can. We can do it about any time.
Well, we have to do a minimum of 2, so I'm thinking
Yes.
we're doing this one now, and then I think it would be foolish to start moving money around while we're waiting for snow to fall. So maybe in the spring. But if we need to, for instance, chips, thanks to Jess, we got a huge, huge reimbursement this year. The biggest reimbursement we've ever had, thanks to our clerk's due diligence. So that budget transfer has to. Ron? What was that amount? The additional that beyond what we expected.
The additional amount was the 52,000 and change.
So that one we have to do. So we'll do some more tonight. They're on the resolutions that everybody got in advance, and everything else is just kind of budgetary maintenance. It's the Talcott Kelp aquaculture activities. So they submitted a proposal that was in the trustee share, and Chris is going to give us a summary.
So there was a meeting back in August that Tina and I attended, representation from the town of Brookhaven, representation from Settlecotts as well, and some professionals who have experience in kelp harvesting. And basically what they're looking to do is use Pocot waters for the ability to harvest here, as you can see, and they have some, they're going to partner with Setauket Harbor Task Force. George Hoffman from that was at the meeting as well. And we've also reached out to some other individuals who have experience with this. So a gentleman named James Wiley, who has a program called Reach in Huntington. He has some experience with this and he's done it before, so he was able to lend some advice and some credence to the fact that these types of projects don't generally interfere with boaters. The time of year in which they would be doing it is really off-peak season. Goes into late April, and then everything's out of the water by early May. So it's butts right up against it. But at the same time, from anyone we've spoken to, there hasn't been a direct issue in any capacity with boaters or with local government or with any obstruction in the waters that impeded anybody's ability to use them for their intended purposes. As well, there's also a historical significance to Settlecott using these waters for this type of thing. So there's that as well. And on top of that, they seem to have in place all of the necessary partnerships as far as the boats, the lines, the equipment, and the equipment after the fact to, produce what they're looking to produce, which is I believe a fertilizer was one of the main uses they were going to use it for. So for every wet pound of kelp that they take out, it becomes like 1/10 of a pound when it's dry. They ground it down, and it eventually turns into like almost like a dust. And then that's when they would add it to the fertilizer and kind of use it for that purpose. So I think with their the support from local town councilman Jonathan Cornrich and town of Brookhaven, so they're supporting this project. Where they want to put it is right on that curve. So over by Van Brunt Manor Beach, how it curves there. So we have an ability to put two lines. They're about 100 feet each in the water, and it's like a metal line, so nothing can go through it, which is why we were looking for a space that boaters wouldn't typically take, even though it's kind of off season, but still. It doesn't, as far as we could tell, affect anyone's mooring. It won't affect any boat traffic. And it's a pilot program is what we would suggest, where we let them do it this year, we get feedback, and then we decide how we proceed forward. But I thought there was a lot of value in what they've done from the number of people we spoke to, including representation, like I said, from Town Brookhaven, Setauket Harbor Task Force. There hasn't been any negatives that have been reported, so I think it's something we should consider.
I like the whole idea. I think the proposal's solid. I only think that we should, I think the lines should come out I think the lines should come out no later than April 15th. Only because people do put their boats in the water. Some people go fishing earlier on. I mean, for them to pull it out May and then we have a couple of weekends of bad weather, I don't want to deal with boats getting tangled up. I don't want to deal with us having to hear about it and have to have administrative time to manage anything along that line. So I think if we tell them that no later than April, that's the only change that I would make, is that not April needs to have a hard date, because weather's crazy that time of year. We still have cold weather. So I think for the first time I would do like April 5th, that no matter what, it has to be out by April 15th. They have to watch the weather. If they can keep it in until close to that date, that's great. But it gives us another 2 weeks in case the weather is kooky before the boats start going in May. Some people start putting their boats in early. I mean, we never did, but we're stupid. So that's the only change I would make. Otherwise, I would definitely vote yes. Thoughts?
I agree with that, and it's a benefit to the village as well.
They also invited us if we
Yep.
want to go
Yes,
kelp
so-
fishing.
So one thing I'll say with what Ray was just bringing up as well, Tina, one thing we also can touch on, which Ray brought up as well. So the benefit, there is a benefit to it. As you can read here, right here, it says growing kelp is beneficial to the water because it can help produce high levels of nitrogen. Settlecotts are water protectors and stewards of the environment, climate, land, and ecosystem. So there is benefits to the water. And there will also be benefits to Poquat Village, because that was one of the questions we asked was, if we allow you to do this, what benefit does it have to the village other than, doing
Being
something
friendly.
nice and being friendly? What benefit does it have? But they said that the end product being the fertilizer we could use for our garden here. So we have
Some of it.
gardens that are used, and you could actually use that as well. So some of the end product would come right back to ProQuad as well.
It dries up to pretty much nothing. So
Yeah,
the end
that's what I'm
product,
saying
we will
before.
probably all be able to share 1 tablespoon, but I think it'll be nice.
Still something.
Yeah.
So the two quick questions. One was also based on the location that you're proposing. Was the marina over in the Socket Marina consulted on this?
They're not
So they're not.
affected.
It's not in that area. It's around the bend, closer coming this way. So it's not.
Close to the triangle.
It's further up. So we're talking about right off of.
It's at the
White Pine,
corner.
White Pine, White Pine.
Like no, up there, yeah, more. So like, when you go all the way
Tinker.
up Van Brunt
Tinker Lane.
Manor, yep,
Yeah.
right.
It's between Van Brunt and Walnut where it turns, like in that area, right?
Yeah, and then the group of individuals that were here before, they work with everyone down in Port Jeff. They work with everyone in Setauket. So Setauket Harbor Task Force, George Hoffman, who is one of the people on this project, he's very diligent about making sure that everyone is advised and consulted with as far as this. And this is going to be really hands off for us as far as the execution of this. There's going to be a group of people who are well versed in doing this, have done it multiple times, and know what they're doing. So, that was another thing for us, was that it doesn't require any lifting on our
And there's
end.
no drawback to the residents that live right there.
No.
No, but we're going to institute that's why we said do it on a pilot program, because we want to be fair to everyone and make sure that residents are happy at the end of the day. That's our number one concern here. So, but as far as we've been told, and as far as the data shows, there's been no complaints in any
We
other
can
areas.
make that a concession if you want to. If you want them to, if we want to make sure that marina is notified so that they can advise their boaters. Is that what your concern is?
Well, it just seemed, I think that's typically mostly, most of our boats our residents are here. So most of the traffic that comes past where these would be affecting boaters that are docked there, right?
So we can let them know.
Or just see if that date interferes, because if they're, I'm just concerned if they're dropping boats.
they're not
they're
going to
starting
be.
to drop
I mean,
in
it's
boats
not
in
going to be.
April,
It's
in the
not going to
beginning
be
of April.
in the channel though.
Yeah.
It's going to be off the channel. So
Okay.
if the boats are coming in, unless they were mooring there,
Yeah.
they wouldn't. It's not in the channel. It's
Okay.
off the channel. So I think they wouldn't have an issue.
Okay.
But we could tell them that they need to. That we want to make sure that the marina down in Setauket is aware that we're going into this program so that they can advise their
Yeah,
boaters.
just have early boaters as
Yeah.
well as ours. So
They don't need to weigh in though.
No. We're
Yeah.
just notifying them.
Okay.
That, because it's our water, right? It's
Yeah.
our land technically. So.
Okay, so we'll
I think it's just
notify the
notify them.
marina and we'll tell them April 15th. Is that
The
everybody?
DEC doesn't have to weigh on this, right?
No, the DEC is, I think they already weighed in with the DEC. They already weighed in
Yeah,
with the
this is,
DEC and
Past that
Brookhaven.
point.
Right, this isn't
The
like-
only-
I
the
saw
only-
Brookhaven
the only
was
reason-
involved in
But
CDC.
what
So,
people
no,
do,
no.
like,
The only
Affects,
reason
like, our native species and stuff. I'm assuming they already have all that covered. But
The
Yeah,
only reason that they came to us with this was because Town of Brookhaven was fine with it happening, but where Town of Brookhaven has their, water, it's kind of where the ferry is and stuff like that. That runs all year round. You can't interfere with that, and there's other things to consider. They support the project, and they saw that there's some areas like the one we're mentioning now where there wouldn't really be high boat traffic. There's not really anyone mooring there, and it's kind of just tucked out of the way, but it gives them the amount of space that they need to execute what they need to execute. And again, it's going to be a professional team assisting them. They have guidance on every level, and their guidance is very knowledgeable on the project.
So last thing, maybe I can ask you, maybe if you're doing the communication. I know it said that they're going to be checking the kelp itself, but I know we do a lot of, like Brookhaven does a lot of testing, harbor testing. Are they able to like monitor the water as well to see what impacts it actually has on the water?
I think they did in
Yeah, I
the
think
past though.
that's-
That was what they presented to us when we
Okay.
met with
Yeah.
them.
Okay.
They presented, and Huntington kind of backed it up.
Yeah.
They presented nothing but positive.
Yeah, no, I think it'd be good to see if it does have positive effect, and moving forward, we could look at maybe
I
adding
think
to
it's also a
additional
long-term
areas.
thing. Yeah, that would be a good idea.
Yeah.
We could ask them if they want to do a before and after.
So, so,
If it's doable,
Yeah.
ask them, but,
It doesn't hurt.
all right.
Yeah.
Okay, Birchwood berm estimates. This is for the runoff
Mhm.
issue that we were having. We got a price, for that. It's, 1,400. It's been approved by engineering and environmental. It is necessary. It's not just a decorative berm. He is having definite issues. Price is 1,400. I think we're just good to go with that. Okay. All right. Everyone okay? Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So the other thing, we have a need for a arborist for Parkland. There was a resident who had some excavation issues there, and one of our trees is fine, healthy, looks good, but we want to just confirm that. And I'd like to contact an arborist just to make sure that the tree that was near the excavation area is still solid and standing. Otherwise, we'll have to address it. And the arborist, I think we haven't gotten prices, but I'd like to allow Jess to get us some prices. You know, it's a beautiful tree. It's still alive. It's just it might be in a weird spot now. So we want to just do that. We don't have prices, so I don't have anything to tell you. I just want to authorize Jess to look at it and let you know what we're doing. Tree trimming quotes. We did not have a ton of tree trimming.
We ended up getting the second one last minute.
You did? Okay. So we some of the trees that we saw, who spoke to? Who, was it you or Jess that spoke to Nat Grid?
I
Both.
spoke to PSEG.
Right, and they're going to be doing a major trimming next year,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
In the spring. So we're going to let them come and do their thing in the spring. So we're just looking for the ones that are really compromised right now. And we found, I think, 6 in the village. Right. So the prices were, I know Hurricane came in at 4,400.
Yeah,
And
the quote reflects sales tax that would be taken off, and the second quote was $4,550.
okay, and then the other one never came in, right? The other person. Okay, so that's what we've got. Hurricane has done a lot of our trees. They're cheaper. I think we should just go with that. But I always like to keep whoever else bids kind of in our thoughts in case there's a big storm and we need them in an emergency. So we'll go with that. All right, this next one, Jeremy, you're on this one because I need to recuse myself from this discussion.
So I'd like to bring up a recommendation to set a threshold to not drop below for our building inspector's pay. So we've onboarded a new deputy building inspector, and essentially the way that it works is anytime there's a conflict of interest with a project that our building inspector is on, our head of building is on,
Or if he's unavailable.
unavailable or a conflict of interest, then we utilize our deputy building inspector. He charges on a per inspection fee, on a scaled per inspection fee, depending on the job, whereas our in-house building inspector is on a salary. It's retained on a salary. The thing is that every time the outside building inspector has an inspection, it is removed from our building inspector's base pay. So for instance, this example, this past month, we've had a number of inspections he's done. It'll drop our inspector's pay to essentially zero. I pulled the inspections for the year. Building department clerk and our clerk have pulled the inspections for the year, and we have roughly 40 permits. So if you do it on a base on the lowest rate that the building inspector we hire out goes on at $250, it's still, you're talking $10,000 just for one inspection. Whereas our building inspector does a plan review, which is usually at a higher amount, does at least one inspection of the project, usually multiple, and does a final inspection. He also handles all of the rental inspections as well. So I think setting a not to drop below $500 a month for the building inspector is reasonable to justify the work that he's and the money he's saving for the building department and the village in general.
So the building inspector is salaried.
Correct.
So you're saying that every time we have to use the backup because of conflict of interest,
Mhm.
it's deducted from his salary.
Correct.
And in many cases, even though he's doing work during the month,
Mhm.
he's getting paid zero because the backup person is expensive.
Below his amount, so it fluctuates, but yeah, below he's getting paid below his standard or his.
What do we
his
normally
rate.
pay the building inspector every month?
So our bill it's $12.50 a month.
And you're saying not
Not
to
to-
go bump,
not
not to
to-
go below bump.
Yeah, below
Below
500, which would basically account for 2 inspections, which is, if you're billing it out. So for instance, our deputy building inspector, which, we all approved this and comped it rates for other inspectors for a single family home for a plan review over, I think, 3,000 square feet. It's $600 for the plan review and for the initial inspection, and then $250 from there on. So you're easily at $1,000, $1,000 or over for a permit for the inspection costs. So I think having our head building inspector on salary is saving the building department and the village a tremendous amount of money, and I think $500 would be reasonable to. So it wouldn't be in addition to his salary, but just not to deduct.
Can I add one more thing?
Sure.
Cindy's salary, pay is no longer coming from the building budget because she's now a clerk for the village, so we have a separate budget. So, there is money that was budgeted towards pay for the building department that's not being used.
But she's,
For this year.
but the village is getting paid. It's really the same thing.
Yeah,
I mean, the
it's,
village
but,
is paying.
but the
It's the same
building budget,
Right? It's just in a different line.
it's
item.
not gonna
Mhm.
be used essentially.
Right.
Okay.
But that's it's just coming from one other place. So I like the thought process, but yeah, I understand. I get it. So it's just that when we use the backup person, he's not getting any money and he's still doing work, and that's not right.
Correct.
Okay. I have no problem with that.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with it either.
Okay.
All right, back to me.
Unrecused?
I'm unrecused. Do I take the hat off?
Yeah.
No, wait, it's like Get Smart. Shh. No. All right. Okay, so planning board requests. So we discussed this. We went through their requests. Everybody went home with homework. I don't know who did what homework. So first question, did anybody do any homework?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about the homework that everybody did. Go. Who wants to go first?
I could start if you want.
Do it.
Go for it.
So I spoke with the mayor of Nissequag, and I also spoke with a village official in Oldfield, and they both had very different ways of how the planning board handles.
Can you throw me a water?
Sure. Very different ways of how the planning board handles review and approval of site plans. In Nissequag, my understanding was that it's very hands-on. Planning board has a lot of responsibility as far as review and approval of site plans, whereas Oldfield is not the case. The planning board does not have the same responsibilities as Nissequag. So it was very interesting because as far as villages, they're probably two of the more comparable to us. Belterre being another village, I put out an inquiry with their building department, but I have yet to receive a response on that just yet. But from what I've heard though, Nissequag has said that with the responsibility they've given to the planning board, they haven't encountered any issues. Oldfield's process is more, some of the matters wind up going to the board of trustees as opposed to the planning board. So the answers that I got were one end of the spectrum and the other. It was very black and white with.
Chris, did you ask them? Because my research ties into this as far as do they have other like the big thing is planning board usually in a lot of villages is hand in hand with architectural review board, which we don't have, which
Right.
we really probably can't
Right.
have, based on the varying aesthetic in our village. Did you ask them, either one of them, if they have architectural review, or are they just straight planning, zoning, building?
So what I was told was that in Oldfield, there's a building inspector and an engineer that consult on those site plans. In Mississauga, the way I understand it is any variances, of course, go to the zoning board, same as they would anywhere else. And then after that, it would go again, engineer, building inspector, or they refer to them as the quarterback. The building inspector is the quarterback of it. Variances go to zoning, and then review and approval of site plans gets passed through planning board, and then it goes from there. So as far as I'm aware, no one brought up an architectural review board.
Okay.
Engineers and building inspectors were mainly the quarterbacks of the process.
All right, anybody else do any research?
Yeah, I've spoken to Oldfield too, so I'll skip that one as well, skip over that. Spoken to Port Jeff, Brookhaven, and Belterre as well. Belterre seems to be about the closest equivalent to how we run, as far as lack of commercial property, restrictions on building, subdivisions, things like that. And they utilize their planning department quite a bit more. They do give their planning department, it's not listed as architectural review, but review of aesthetic is listed in their planning board's requirement, their codes, and their I guess their review responsibilities. They work with the planning board, with their building department. They have a pretty extensive list of review requirements that they handle, and then bounce back off to their board. They do have a developer running their zoning, running their planning board, and an architect on their board. I don't know how that relates or changes, our opinion of how ours runs. But it's codified, so it doesn't matter if those people are in position or not. It's still going to be their review process. They kind of scale they have some qualifiers that I think could be useful for triggering a planning board review that we could utilize, as far as size of the plot versus the amount of land disturbed, versus also including the square footage of the building that's being either new construction or renovation. Essentially, they have a 50% foundation qualifier. Anything that exceeds a renovation that exceeds 50%, or which would then lead up to include a new build, needs to go to planning for review.
Got it. Well, that's over 50%.
50% of the total foundation of
So if
permanent
somebody
structures.
if somebody was just to do a bump out, it wouldn't.
It wouldn't go to zoning. No.
That's
Or
interesting.
planning. It wouldn't go to planning. I'm sorry. Zoning's a different
Right.
animal, but yeah, anything 50% or less
So
would
they
be
can just put
required.
in their permit and.
Go through building department review. Yeah.
That's an interesting.
So wait, how many square feet?
50% of the total footprint of the
That's a lot.
permanent structures. So anything over 50%.
That would be a lot of stuff not going to planning then, right? 'Cause
It would be. So anything where you're going up and you're not changing the footprint, it wouldn't necessarily affect the planning. That wouldn't trigger planning.
Which kind of in some ways makes sense.
Yeah, you're doing a building because the house has been approved through planning, right? So you're not I guess the thought is you're not drastically changing the architecture of the building by doing an addition to it. But if you're going to knock down or clear 50% or more of the building, then or add on, or if you add on more than 50% of the existing structure, right? So it would be the same thing for an addition. So if you have a 1,000 square foot house and you plan to add on more than 500 square feet to that
Then it would
plan,
trigger
that
that.
would trigger because you're in excess of
But the
over
question is,
50%.
you have 1,000 square foot house and you're now putting in 475 square feet, it's not gonna trigger that,
Mhm.
right? And is that a problem? Should planning be part of that? And I think that's, maybe it shouldn't be 50%, maybe there's a better.
Well, it's just interesting to hear how
That's
they're
a lot,
doing
though. I
it.
think 50%
Yeah.
is a lot.
Well, yeah. It depends too. But if it
But
triggers
so
setbacks, then it goes into ZBA, so somebody's gonna see it.
it does also seem like a lot, but also if you look at code for New York when it comes to for villages when it comes to planning departments, that's not even in their like basic requirements to be doing that. So it's kind of their choice to exceed what their requirements are. So they're just subdivisions, special permits, right?
Right.
And master plans. Is
We're
their
trying
like
to
base.
take stuff away from the plan.
No,
No.
I think we're trying to get them
No,
more involved.
what it is they're, I mean, the planning
This would
board,
make them less.
no, well,
No, I'm saying the basics for New York, they're requesting to do more.
Oh.
So this is, Belterra and some of the other villages are utilizing their planning boards to do more review and take some of the burden off of their, I don't want to say take the burden off the building department, but also to work in conjunction with the building department to try and cover everything, and basically kind of adhere to the general direction and plan of the village. So they're looking for some more responsibility, and I think we're looking for some ways to give it to them
right,
that are effective and that can be quantified and reviewed and then turned back over, so it doesn't affect the time frame of permits for our residents.
What was the time frame?
no, but
But
we could.
if we keep adding things, additional.
So, did either one of you guys get anywhere?
I'm still in the process of working.
Okay, so here's a couple of things, because I didn't really, I gave everybody like a little laundry list, but then I wound up speaking to both Chris Schleider, who's the chair of the planning board. I spoke to Rich Parrish, environmental commissioner, and I did speak to I spoke to that mayor in
Richard from
Nisqually, who's great. I also spoke to the building clerk at Head of the Harbor. So I kind of threw together, like, it's very, my thoughts are all over the place. But here's where it really, I think it comes down to. So first and foremost, it used to be, and the standard is supposed to be, that the planning board got everything, every permit. Somewhere along the line, and we tried to find it, and we found that it fell off in 2017, but we don't know specifically why. There was too much time lapsing, and the planning board was getting inundated, and it was slowing the building department for whatever the reason. That's as much as I can gather, because we don't have anything on record. They no longer got the permits. So now, flash forward to now, there's a lot of new construction in the village, which we've seen over the last, I don't know how many houses have been come up, gone down, come up, changed, extensions, etc. And we've had a couple of situations where it has impacted beyond, let's say, forget the aesthetic, put that all aside. It has impacted stormwater management. It's been impacted, really, I mean, we've gotten so much rain, and environmentally it's had its impacts, and it's not just one. There's a number of them all over the village, new part, old part. So the planning board's saying, I think the spirit of what they're saying is, some of the issues that we found, is there a way for them to get involved? This is my interpretation from Chris. Is there a way for them to get involved so that we can avoid having new construction, large extensions, clearing of land, avoid them impacting the village in a negative way before it actually happens, which I think we all agree that we don't want it to impact the village in a negative way. But some of the things that the planning board had said was, review and approval of site plans where plans require significant, as per the board, regrading and clearing. Review and approve site plans that abut village land, including developed land and undeveloped land, etc. So if you go in to look at a special use permit, there are certain criteria that, and I'm just learning about the special use permit, and I don't know if any of this is 100% accurate, but this is kind of the feel of it. Changes of grade, more than 10%, 15%, 20%, whatever it is, trigger special use. Building on more than 1 acre in deep slope areas, trigger special use. Land that abuts village property, certain types of soils.
Who reviews special use permit?
Well, we haven't had one, and I don't know, it would be the planning board, right? That's who is assigned by New York State Planning Board, because the planning board's responsibility is like 4 things. It's very limited. It's special use, which is, I think, what our issue is. Site plans for multifamily homes and commercial, which we don't have any of. Right.
Commercial's not allowed.
Subdivisions, which we have minimal. That happens rarely. Docks, and was there one more thing?
I don't even think docks is a requirement of the plan. It's a master plan was the other one.
Oh, the master plan, and then in our code it's docks,
Yeah,
right?
that's
And ours.
Yeah.
I just meant it's not from the
Right.
Oh,
From New York
from
State,
New York,
it's
but
master plan,
Yeah.
right? And again, that's what New York State
Right,
recommends.
And the planning board is saying that we want to be more involved in what's happening, not
So-
just letting the building department do it. Like,
So-
they have their own.
So for starters, okay,
Right.
so and I put it in the share folder. I put in the New York State Planning Board criteria. It's 200 pages long. Have fun. But what I was thinking was, if all of this is special use, and then special use permit, kind of like the broad strokes of how it works is, you want to build your house and you're changing your slope from this to that. Planning board looks at it, says this requires a special use permit. So now the special use permit would be an additional permit that incorporates a public hearing, where the neighbors who don't want the house next to them to be on this kind of a slope, it's like a variance hearing. It's a different kind of hearing, but similar to a variance hearing. It becomes a public discussion because now you're building something and you want to clear all the land that abuts this park or this area, and that might change the aesthetic on the other side of that fence for the whole community. So special use permit, it becomes a discussion. From that discussion, who's going to make the decision? Planning board. With the special use and the definition of special use, the planning board gets to make recommendations. But
They're making the recommendations to the building.
they present the recommendations to the public. Really, it becomes a discussion, which is, that's how it's supposed to be happening. But I don't know that we've implemented it or the planning board knows, because a lot of the requests that they made this, and that, and then they said special use permits, but this, and that, from what I'm researching, all falls into that. So it kind of works, right? The other things from talking to different villages is they have departments. They don't have just boards. So they have a zoning department or a building department. And I mean, we have a building department, but we don't have a planning department that looks at them and then gives it to the board to review. Our department is the board. So this is just thoughts that I'm having. Maybe we create a department out of the board. So in other words, it seems like they're supposed to get all the permits, because we were talking about, well, do they need to see bathrooms? Do they need to see this, or do they just need to see new builds? So
They're looking just outside.
So Rich said that they're supposed to see everything, because it's supposed to be under their purview to decide, this is a bathroom, it's not ours, and just delete. Well, just say just don't answer, and it just passes by. But now here comes a big new site plan. Now they get to look at that and say, oh, this clicks off the grade change. This clicks off the clearing change. This is going to require a special use. And then they turn it over and say special use. So it's really having more eyes on it, which I think is what they want. And I don't think it's bad for us.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I don't want it to turn into a text, an email thread that takes 5 days to discern. So, and I don't know if we can do this, I was gonna ask Joe, but do we have the planning board they assign, out of their 7 people, they make their own department. 2 people, they vote, they pick their people. 2 people are now the people who receive it, review it together, and then
Bring it to the board.
bring it to the, send it on its way, because they're not going to see it again until the hearing or whatever they've done to grant the permit. But 2 people say, yeah, I agree. Let's give it to the building department with these recommendations, move it along. And then it doesn't involve the whole 7 people until it comes back to planning. And I almost think if we're going to get the ZBA to receive permit applications, to start monitoring, because we've had issues with ZBA too, where the plans get to a ZBA meeting and they haven't been, they find holes in them because they haven't been reviewed proper. They came in and all of a sudden it's like, oh wow, this somebody on the ZBA goes, oh look, we're missing this. They should know ahead of time, right? So maybe the plan comes in and ZBA gets to look at it and say, yeah, this does require a hearing, or this doesn't require a hearing, or this meets the setbacks, or it doesn't. Same thing. They vote and pick 2 people to review it when it's necessary. And it's just kind of broad strokes of thoughts.
Like you're basically creating a subcommittee or a department within the board that allows it to function properly, where it will feed through. It will do the initial review and then feed through to the board if something needs to be fully reviewed,
Right.
and be able to catch and not put everything on the building department.
Not put everything on the building department, because there's not. I mean, every department that we have is either part-time, volunteer time. It's like, and the planning board is, I mean, by everything I've read, they probably should be getting this to begin with.
So
And
you put a cap on their review, give them a specific amount of time.
Yeah, they have 5 business days, right? They have 5 business days, and if they don't answer, then the assumption is clear, next department, send it to ZBA or wherever the next, and planning goes first, ZBA goes next, comes back, so that this way the building department is just giving it to the departments who may need to be involved. They can weigh in if they do need to be involved.
Mhm.
And then I don't know, these are the kind of thoughts that I was having. Again, this is super broad because we still have to define what the criteria is.
Yeah.
And I spoke to Chris, super flexible. He's not like, it has to be this, we want to be able to say that. The word authority that we were all kind of hung up on last meeting, just a word. Like they just want to be more involved. And I think if we have a planning department, I can think of in my head like 3 situations where we wouldn't have been dealing with erosion, stormwater problems if they had been involved to begin with. And then that's the other thing. The other thing is, how do you tie in the stormwater erosion plan, which, by the way, every new construction should have to have it. It should be mandated as part of the building permit and should be checked.
Mhm.
That could be something planning does, make sure that the stormwater plan is in there. I'm not saying everybody looks at the things, but like, let's get them involved so that stormwater's addressed. The other thing is stormwater, then, landscape, if we feel that a landscape plan, because a lot of these houses, people panic because they just see a big mound of dirt and they freak out, and then all of a sudden it gets built and it gets seeded and bushes come in and all of a sudden it looks like a house, and people are like, oh, you know what? I thought that was going to be terrible, but I actually like it and it works well. So I think,
Or the opposite.
Yeah,
people where they run out of money and then they're like,
well, and that's the other thing.
And then you have the stormwater runoff
Right,
problem,
but
and they don't have to drain.
then you obligate them. If they're going to do this thing, they have to build it into their budget. That at the end, the very least they have to do is put grass down to stop the stormwater.
Right.
So I don't think this like really creates like crazy
I think that I think it's more so picking up on things that we should have been and should be addressing than it is adding.
No, it's what should have been adding and kind of nuancing it a little bit so that, who knows, 20 years ago, how many new houses? Maybe not that many. You had that whole development. But I think this is like, I mean, if everybody's okay with it, I'll keep digging.
I like it. I
I
think
think-
the, sorry, go ahead.
I think I like that they want to get more involved. I think that's good, and I think it definitely needs a little more diligence and research. But I'm not opposed to getting planning more involved like that. And if it's
And
people,
ZBA too.
yeah,
I like that more. I like that more because, you know, one of my concerns before was the approved denial language that was written in. I know they said they're not that strict on it, but I feel like if you have a committee, they're not approving, denying, they're marking for review and what needs to be looked at and moving on, right? So they're doing a quick 5-day sweep of something and saying this is an issue, this isn't, and they don't have the authority to approve and deny that,
Well,
but they're going to send it back.
Yeah, they could have sent it to where
Yeah.
it needs to go because it's
Correct.
special use. It's special use.
Yeah.
Then the other things that they talked about were the joining a property. There was another thing that they asked for: reviewing for substance or lots are combined. Planning, erosion control planning will have discretion. Planning to receive buildings and include plans for demo. So I
And
have
what's
so
in the
many
final
notes.
lots
Review
is,
and
like,
approval of
we don't
site
have
plans.
any- We don't have any
Include the
laws for them
following
to review,
items.
right? Like,
Right.
As
that's a-
part of the planning board scope of
well, that's the
authority.
question. Can you buy 4 lots and put one giant house on it?
And as of right now, yes.
Yeah.
Unless we,
The review and
Only
approval of
this
site
much.
plans that abut village land, including developed land and undeveloped land, special use. Most of the stuff that they asked for, minus the combination of plots, all according to Rich falls under, and according to everything, not just Rich, everything that I read too, all falls under special
Special
use. So I think we might have to, but we can, again, we take New York State's, we take the special use and we apply it to how it fits into Poquat. And then it addresses like 3 out of the 4 things that they want to do. And it gives us time, and then we can look at the other stuff. Because I think that this is important now.
Yeah.
The combination of plots does not happen that often. I would ask for a volunteer to dig deeper on that one. I'll take this whole thing because I think most of it falls under special use. But if somebody else wants to look into the how New York State and how other villages address the combination of plots, I would like a volunteer from the audience.
From what I've seen so far, it's less legislation on the language about combining. It's more of they have set requirements per zone for what you can, for size of lot. So
Right.
so the size of a lot is determined, and then typically within most municipalities, there is a percentage of land that you can build on that lot out of that. So say
Out of what you combine.
20%. So if your zoning requirement is that you can only have a plot max size 20,000 square feet, it limits your ability to build and kind of keeps it in line with the other houses because your footprint can only be a percentage of what that lot is.
Of what the original lot is, or the zone,
combined.
the zone.
The zoned would be, so if you live in an area, right, if we have zoning, right, we have zoned areas. So if you buy a house in zone C and that zone that you fall in says that the maximum offsets or size of the zones in that area are 20,000 square feet.
I don't
right?
think it is that way. I think it's a percentage of to the land, isn't it?
But the zones are grouped by sizes, right? So if that's your,
But sometimes they tell you, like, you're gonna buy, if you say your land is 5 acres,
Mhm.
but your house can only be 3,000 square feet.
each village has a percentage
So-
relative to the properties in their village.
Okay.
Yeah.
So who wants to you want to keep going?
Sure.
You want to go
I like to
too?
keep it going.
I mean, I'll take this and I'm going to go through this and come up with, I'm going to take my crazy cliff notes and really go back. I would like to sit down with Chris, Mike, Rich, and kind of see how this all stacks up and then bring it back.
I think to your point, I think the land clearing, the landscaping plan, the stormwater mitigation, erosion plans, and
The stormwater-
I think it's
That should be a given, and
Yeah.
I think it is actually. It just hasn't been being enforced.
So I think those are things, to your point, that need to be addressed quickly to give us, because right now, to Darlene's point, we don't have a law that says somebody can't come in and buy 5 properties and put them together, right? Like we don't have.
Maybe we can't,
Zoning
maybe
law?
I don't know if we can actually, restrict that, but we could kind of make sure that they're not
Well,
building
another-
I don't know, because I'm not that picky about what people do.
Yeah.
But it's almost like,
But these are also, I think we're kind of getting. I think some of it is immediate and relevant to the building. This might be the combination of properties might also be something to discuss with planning because it could tie more into the master plan for the village.
that's, yeah.
Like, what do we want the village to look like in 10 years? Do you want to have every
And
cabin on
that's the
Walnut
other
torn
thing.
down and turned
Part of
into
what
like
they-
multiple houses, or do you want to restrict how big of a lot you can have in a zone?
So the
essentially.
thing is, I think that some of what they were saying was speaking to aesthetics.
Mhm.
And I think if we're going to start speaking to just aesthetics, I think that does kind of, I don't think that we should be making that decision. I don't think that the 7 of them should be making that decision. I think that's a bigger decision. So if it's going to be, we're going to suddenly, there's in the neighborhood in Oldfield, everything's white. Every house has to be white, right? There's that whole section in Oldfield that's, yeah, every house has to be white. You just, I forget what, you go in, everything's white, and you come out. You know what I'm talking about?
I do know
So,
it.
like, if we're going to get that, I don't want to do
No,
that,
no, no,
by the way.
I don't think that's what
No,
they're
no,
doing.
but I'm just saying, if you're going to start to try to set an aesthetic standard, you have to get the aesthetic standard from the residents. We can't, the 5 of us and the 7 of them can't set the aesthetic standard for the rest of the village. It's not.
No, no, I'm
I don't
thinking
want to
it's,
dive that deep.
yeah, I'm not
Yeah.
thinking it's.
I don't think so
more
either,
like
but I
I'm
don't
thinking it's
combination
more of
land
a
and,
property.
It's more of
Yeah.
a property of like, you're going to do this, and you're going to do this, and by doing this, are you completely turning the whole look of that street upside down? You don't necessarily want that. You want things to blend. I'd like to see people have freedom, but to blend. There's a house in Kings Park that, have you
Doesn't
ever seen
blend.
that house? Do you know which one I'm talking about? On Twin Oaks Drive?
Yeah.
It
Oh,
doesn't
It's
blend.
been like that for years.
it's
It's
really,
like a Lego house.
it's really,
So like a prison.
yeah, you don't know what happened there. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a bad house. You don't want that house.
No.
You want to stop that from happening. That's the only thing. That's a really bad house. Next time I'm in Kings Park, I'll take a picture of it. You guys will say no. All right, so I'm going to do this. You want to keep going with land combination, or do you want to just put a pin in it and we all kind of work on this for now?
I'll
And
look at it too. I mean,
You let me know where you need me, and I'll follow up on anything if you need me to.
okay,
All right.
all right. So that's that for this. Local law revisions, chapter 120, property maintenance.
So we're looking
Darlene?
at the definitions of what clarifies each quote vehicle, types of vehicles.
Right.
So I contacted a couple of villages, just getting some information back from them, and then
The vehicles and the boats, right?
yeah, boats
okay.
are on there, yeah.
All right.
So
So
again, how do they define boats? Like, is it watercraft, and does that include jet skis? Does that include kayaks? Does that include?
I think you should also look at if there's seasonality to it, because I think that's big for our
Yeah.
village.
Okay.
So maybe that for this, circle back with that in
Yeah.
November.
Okay.
All right. Permit reviews.
So for the Mass Assembly, I'm in the process of finishing that up, but I have all of the literature and requirements taken from the Mass Assembly Code and looking at as reference from the
Special event or
Special
whatever
use.
it's called.
Yes.
Special use.
so I have that in a document here that I can send out. I just don't know format wise how to.
You can just set it as a Word document, and we'll
Okay.
just look at it for the verbiage, and then we can
Right.
format it in Village Hall.
Okay.
And that doesn't have to be something that we have to. I mean, you could circulate that, and we can look at it and make a decision, because it's
Online.
just all it is a permit. So we don't have to vote it in or whatever. We can adopt it. We can put it out when you're done.
Mhm.
But if you want to circulate it, and we can all give you your input before the next meeting, let's do that.
Okay, yeah,
All right.
I'll send that out. As far as the rental permit fees go, I've got in contact with like over a dozen local villages, and assessing our fees compared to the other villages, they're all pretty much comparable. In my research, I would suggest that the village looks into a one-time, first-time renter fee that gets applied for covering the inspections that go along with the first-time renters. From what I've seen from other villages, I think like a $250 fee that gets paid would help cover the inspection. And again, it's just a one-time fee.
For the first
unless-
time, so the first time somebody gets an application,
Right.
somebody takes out a rental application for the administrative end,
Mhm.
they get an extra fee, and then if they renew, they don't.
Right. The renewal wouldn't be unless they don't renew within time, and that process starts over again.
Okay, so on the other end, it becomes like a penalty if they don't
Right.
renew on time. I like that. I think that's good. But what the current fees are, they're comparable, so.
Yeah, comparing them to all the other villages that I heard back from, they're pretty much on par with what's going on elsewhere. So I don't think that we need to.
Okay, so what's the current fee right now? Oh, it's set for different rooms, right? So you're saying keep all of those the same and tack on a one-time
A one-time inspection fee for
the first
time
time.
renters.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Yeah. Let's. Actually, you know what? You should call it a one-time processing fee because our renters have the ability to, if they want to, they can hire their own inspector who sends an affidavit. But that doesn't change the amount of work that our back end has to do to process the application and get it going. So I think a one-time administrative fee for first-time renters only.
Okay.
And as long as they renew on time, it's just the one time. Then it just goes back to rental fees. I like that a lot. I think that's great. All right, so we'll do.
And we're not gonna retroact that, right? So
No.
if you're currently,
I
right, so
would just
anybody
leave
from
it
this
alone.
point forward,
Yeah.
okay.
All right, commissioner reports, Chris.
All right, we got 2 on the docket for tonight. First one up, if you go through, we have the Route 25A biannual report from our 25A corridor commissioner, Jessica Byrne. You want me to read through this? I'll give you a full rundown, because I think you addressed some of these items.
I did, but
already,
you can,
I can read and
and
then
I'll
you'll address.
scream out what I addressed.
Okay, sounds good. So, she put the residents of Route 25A and Poquat have reported the following issues and concerns over the past 6 months. Bullet point number 1, residents would like an update on when the sidewalks from 383 Main Street to Washington will be completed. Work started in 2021. Residents were told funds would be secured for the following year to complete the project. The work has not been completed to date. This was addressed with Assemblyman Flood and New York DOT in 2023. What was the outcome? Dina?
The outcome is they are starting. We are on the list for. It's going out to bid in 2025. Hi, Joe. It was always that was the first time that we did it. We didn't get our funding in time for the last major project, and they always tie it into another similar project in the vicinity. So we missed the last window, but they promised that they would tag us on. Assemblyman Flood did a lot to help us. It is the project is there's a ticket, so it's definitely happening in 2025. And I think I answered her.
Yes,
Right. Okay.
you did
So
address her.
that's that answer. Next.
Bullet point number 2, residents request concrete curbs to be installed from 383 Main Street to Washington for the safety of all children at bus stops and pedestrians. Number 3, residents complain about the speed limit. There are several accidents per year due to speeding. Residents would like to see speed limit reduced 25 miles per hour along the strip and strictly monitored for the safety of children and pedestrians that walk along that road. Bullet point number 4 was residents mentioned installation of a radar speed sign along the roadway that indicates the speed cars are traveling. Next bullet point, residents of 385 Main Street and 387 Main Street complain of runoff from the street onto the front yard of 387 Main Street and down onto the property, causing cooling at the front door. Next bullet point, residents still request the pond to be dried up. In the interim, residents request the water to be tested and results reported to community members on a quarterly basis. Final bullet point, residents claim to trash and animals along the road that have been struck by vehicles and left on the road for days. So those are some of her things
Okay,
for us
so-
to review.
Residents to 25A, we did. Residents would like updates. So that one is 2025. Residents request concrete curbs to be installed from 383 Main Street to Washington for the safety of all children. At bus stops, okay, so that's in New York. She can make that, I would give her the authority to make that request to the New York Department of Transportation. It's super unlikely, but she can definitely do it. We did request it when we were when they did the major drainage, but just so everybody here is aware, whoever wasn't living here, there was a pond, you weren't here.
This is on the south
This is
side.
on
of-
25A.
south side of 25A.
Right. So there was a pond that was causing drainage issues, and the drainage was coming, it was overflowing and it was coming across. There was there was bugs, there was dead animals, there was a big nightmare of critters. There were residents who said that there were accidents with cars in the pond. We asked them to provide us with that information, police reports. None of that was actually documented, but the pond was a big thing. Assemblyman Engelbright, we met with him a number of times, and basically it came down to the pond cannot be dried out because there is an underwater whatever, the spring underneath it that goes all the way back to, what's the road? It's not Old Town. The road where Old Post Road. So there is a spring underneath that's been there forever.
The one that runs down through our property too into the harbor.
It's a mess. No, not that. Maybe. Who knows? Possibly. It could be. And then the other reason, it's also historic. That pond, believe it or not, was a Jewish bath at some point, according to Assemblyman Engelbright. It was like some kind of like religious location. So it has historic meaning, and it's also part of a whole spring system. So so the answer to drying it out is it'll never happen. Yeah, just put an X. It's physically impossible to dry it out. You know, you drive down by the country corner, and there's all the water there. There's springs. We're not drying those out. So that's X, absolutely not happening. Resident complain of trash and animals along the road. That road isn't ours. We own the corridor where the properties are ours, but the road belongs to New York Department of Transportation. So they are the ones who need to be addressed for that.
So make her request there as well.
That's it. So
Is that NYDOT or is it Town of Brookhaven?
no, New York Department of
Is it?
Transportation.
Okay.
Yeah. Residents compare runoff from the street onto the front yard of 387. Residents at 385, 386. So that one, Chris, I would have her start photographing it and send us photo documentation,
The runoff?
the runoff, so that we can see it. And then, you know, when it rains, have them send us photo documents of that, and then we can send somebody there to assess it.
Okay.
That might be something, again, if it's a stormwater issue, that might be something that we can do to berm their driveway if they're willing to, but they did put a whole new drainage thing. Again, that was just done 3 or 4 years ago, and I doubt they're coming back to do more because they did assess the whole road back then, although we get a lot more rain. So I'd say that one should be photographed.
Mhm.
Resident mentioned installation of a radar speed sign along the roadway that indicates the speed cars are driving. I mean, it's a big,
That's the same, isn't that
it's
DOT too?
it's a big hit. She can ask DOT if they'll do it.
Because it's their road.
It is, but it's our property, right, Joe?
I'm sorry, I apologize.
Hey, come
I
on.
was getting a message from my family. I'm sorry.
Sorry.
What was the question?
New York Department 25A. That's New York Department of Transportation's road, but our property, Main Street. So if we want to put a sign there, we have to get permission.
25A?
25A.
It's within the jurisdiction of the village.
So if I want to put a sign there,
So
a
we
speed
can
sign,
reduce the speed limit in that
No.
little section? No, right.
No, you can't, cannot reduce the speed limit on a state road unless you can ask DOT to, I've done that before, you can ask DOT to reduce their speed limit, but you cannot on your own.
so
And
that,
they will do it if you,
so everything's DOT, I would say, the radar speed sign, if she's gonna ask the DOT if they'll do it, they're gonna say no, but then she can ask them if they would give the village permission to do it, and it's something we can consider,
It's,
in the future, but it's tough because we can't manage anything on that. We don't have the control to manage it. So if we had it, it would really just be to let people know.
can
what was
we,
the
can
specific
we,
concern?
Speeding
yeah,
Speeding.
on
Res-
25A.
it's 25A. It's the
Yeah.
commissioner. They're not going to be able to do anything.
but what if we, like, I mean, I don't know if anybody feels as strongly, but if we send a letter as a village to DOT, like, why does the speed go through 30 through Main Street, and then as soon as you hit the church, it jumps back up to 40, and then it drops back down to 30 when you get past our village and back into Port Jefferson? Like, doesn't it jump up to 40 on that curve? And that's like the most dangerous curve in that whole run of road. It jumps up to 40, and like everybody, as soon as they come past the church, like guns it through that corner.
So you're
and around
saying that the
curve.
speed limit changes from one spot to the other?
It does,
Mhm.
yeah. And then it drops back down again once you pass our village.
Yes, but that would be the DOT. Yeah.
No, I'm
Yeah,
agreeing, but
they
instead
get
of just
it.
having a resident send
So,
it, what
well,
if we?
she's the
I mean,
commissioner of the thing,
Yeah,
but
that's
I
what-
think,
yeah,
I think
like as a village.
if Chris, if you want to work with her and write that letter,
Yeah.
help her with I think as far as all that, she can do it, but if you want to draft it as a trustee,
Sure.
I mean, the concrete curbs, she can do that, but if you want to support her as far as, I know most of this is going to be no, but I think what I would say is I would have her contact them first
Okay.
and let her get her answers to everything.
Right.
And then once
Make a
she can
decision.
go over her answers with you, and then let's see what happens. See if maybe we can, see what answers. Let her get the answers, and then when she gets the answers, maybe you can assist her with the speed limit portion of it. Because I
Sure.
think that's if it's changing, we should at least have a reason why it's changing. We should at least have an explanation why it changes.
Right.
So,
And it might just be because somebody requested a certain section be, and
Which-
so it's just
so-
requesting
so-
the same thing.
so let her make the requests, and then if she gets stuck, I have no problem asking them for. She can ask them for more
I assume Main Street
clarification.
through it has to do with the prior to where it changes. I'm assuming it has to do with the proximity to restaurants and commercial property that's on the frontage. I assume that's why it drops down to 30 in that spot, but then it drops down to 30 again once you get.
It goes back up. And when
It
you get
goes
to
to,
residential.
once you get to
Instead
which
of-
is odd. It jumps the
Yeah.
other way on a really dangerous curve and then drops back down again when you cross over to the. I think once you get to the Port Jeff. Yeah, signage there. Yeah, like right past there. I think once you get past there, it drops back down again.
I'll coordinate that with her based on what we discussed today.
Okay,
And,
sounds good.
so our next commission.
Wait, Joe's talking.
Joe.
Let Joe talk.
Put my texting notes. One of the things you could do is also write contact the 6th precinct and ask them to have the 606 operator to give a little attention to that area. That it's been a problem, the speeding's been a problem. So maybe they can pass through once in a while. 606.
Yeah, I know they put the lights up to help identify the curve, but I mean, we just had my running door sign recently too, coming around that curve.
Thank you, Joe.
All right, Van Brunt.
Van Brunt Manor Road Beach Commissioner Report by the new commissioner over there, Joseph Caggiano. He included pictures as well, so you guys can get a reminder of what that beach looks like. So, current status of the beach, New bench was recently donated, replaced facing trees instead of facing the beach. They recommended relocating the bench off of the overgrown grass that can have ticks and onto the sand facing toward the water. He said 3 blue Adirondack chairs are on the beach and enjoyed by residents. Kayak racks were recently painted and numbered, making it easier for residents to know which slots are there. The path going down to the beach has some overgrown grass weeds. Recommendations were to add gravel or stones to make the path down to the beach easier and safer for residents to access. To take some of the life jackets from California Beach Dock and put by kayak rack for residents to use if they forgot their life jackets when going kayaking or paddleboarding, and to add a water spigot near the road for residents to wash up after using the beach. And then he, like I said, included photos of everything to illustrate how it looked when he went down there and did his report.
Looks, this is an absolutely
If I-
fabulous report.
If I remember correctly, didn't we previously give somebody permission to address the spigot request?
The previous commissioner. So
Okay.
that spigot, it's like he can price it. He has our permission to price what it would cost to run a spigot there. I think it probably will be astronomical. So I'm going to tell you to do 2 things. Price the spigot and then price, they sell, I'm not the like camping washing things. They sell like temporary things, like shower portable things. I would tell him to price. I would tell him to price both.
Okay.
Because I don't think that we're going to be able to afford running the water, but maybe we can. But he'd have to call. Who would we call? A plumber?
Who are you getting the water from?
He'd have to tap into the water line.
Right.
So Suffolk County, I think all he would have to do really is to find out how much it would cost for Suffolk County Water to run a line there, to tap in and run a line to his location. He could mark it and get a quote from them. And then if we'd have to look at that quote before we look at how much it's going to cost to plumb something and put something together. But additionally, he could definitely look at a temporary thing as well and give us prices for both so that we could talk about it in the spring.
Sure thing.
Okay. Add gravel or stones to make the path down the beach. I think that's doable, right? Is that a DEC thing to add gravel or stones?
I think so.
Yeah, but that can like wash it up.
To the beach, how far?
It's not in the title area.
Joe, if you go through the work session packet, there's a photo of it.
So it's,
It's before you hit the
the
beach.
DEC jurisdiction stops at +10.
So they could do that, right?
+10 in elevation, so it probably, they should probably just send a letter to the headquarters at,
Make the request to the E
No,
DEC?
I would just let them know and see, give a notification and see what they would do to respond. Give them like 10 days to respond or something.
So he could price that, Chris.
Okay.
He could price the gravel and stones, and he could ask the DEC if they would allow it.
Okay.
And California life jackets, we can definitely do that.
Okay.
That's not a problem. So yes to that. We should probably throw a couple of bucks into some new life jackets next
Where is
spring
this?
anyway.
This is,
That's going to Van Brunt.
oh,
You know
to
where
Van
the
Brunt,
curve
yeah, okay, I know what this is. I've walked this one. Okay. Yeah, this should be sent to this.
Okay.
I
All right.
think the bench was moved by someone else because I've been down there recently. I think it was.
Here's my question, when they did the memorial benches,
Yeah.
maybe
Yeah.
that's when it was located incorrectly.
Yeah, so I think
Facing the bench?
someone fixed it, I think, but I think the reason it was placed that way, I'm not sure, but I'm sure there was a good reason for it at the time, but then I think when stuff grew in, it kind of made it not a great spot for that.
We
So-
can, if we can have, I mean, that's fine. We can, I would right now, I would keep it as far off the shore as possible, but I
Yes.
think in the spring, we can have Dave go down there and help give him a hand, and they can look at it and put it wherever he thinks would work, as long as it doesn't interfere with the people bringing their boats in and out.
Right.
Yeah, I think it was placed there. I at that location, if I remember, because we couldn't put it any further back because of its proximity to the seagrass that goes
Yeah,
there that you can't disturb.
What I'm
And you
saying,
wanted-
there
you
was
wanted them
there
in
was
the
a good
path.
reason
Put it in
why
the
it was
path, yeah.
placed that way. I was just trying to
Yeah,
remember, but
yeah,
then I
that's
think-
why we couldn't put it into we tried to keep it as far off the path as possible, but we couldn't then push it back into just serving the seagrass. Is why it kind of ended up there where it was.
Right.
And the
We
person
could turn it around though.
we
but you
Why can't you turn it around?
Because
It's
you-
facing.
It's already been moved.
then you end up in the seagrass if you flip it, if you pivot it.
Is it now
I think
facing
we
the
just need
water?
to like.
Yes, it
shift
is.
it
It originally
a little
wasn't
bit.
placed in front of the kayak rack because it would impede people taking their kayaks
Yeah.
on and off, so it was placed off to the side. But it's since been moved in front of the kayak racks. It's been there for probably over a month and nobody's complained.
Well, then
So
it's
do you
the
think that
kayak
maybe
using
it's
it.
been fixed since he wrote the
Yeah, no
report?
one's using that kayak.
All right, so then scratch that
No,
whole,
right here.
Oh, yeah.
right off the list. Okay.
One down.
And then the overgrown grass and weeds, I think it's just a normal thing that we'll address, like
In
we
the
would
spring.
address anything else.
Yeah,
So-
in the spring.
And then the rest of the stuff is very complimentary, so this was a nice first one.
Mm-hmm.
I'll also just mention next month we have to run through 3 because I still have trustees Park from Bonnie, I have Eddie's Walnut Beach, and I have Al's California report as well still. And I'll also mention that all of the commissioners have been fantastic to deal with getting everything they need to get to me when they're supposed to. So
They like you.
everyone's been awesome.
They like you better than me.
Wow, I don't know.
Shocker. Okay. Last thing, policy review. Ray, you got anything?
I have one policy that I went through, made some slight edits.
Which one did you do?
This was on like the meetings,
Rules of procedure, standard.
rules of procedure policy. Yes.
Okay, so you edited it.
Yes.
Did you edit it in Word where you could just upload it to the trustee share?
No, I did it on here, but I'll make the edits on Word.
Well, I mean, is it?
Just put it on there.
Do you want to just? Is it major edits or is it like typo edits?
Mostly typo, and then I added one bullet to the guidelines for public comment.
And what's that?
So it talks about, the public may speak only during the meeting's public comment period. Speakers must be recognized by the presiding officer, but I added something along the lines of one must state, their name, address before moving forward with a comment or question.
Fine.
Just
So
throw that in there.
so I think it's approved. Like, if that's it, I approve that and just fix the typos and upload it to the trustee share or email it to Jess and it's
Okay.
good. And we'll rules of procedure.
Policy.
We could. Okay, did we have that on this or no? We'll just do it next month. I'll add that one next month. Or you want me to do it right now? The policy. Yeah. Yeah. We'll do that next month.
You
Okay.
do have to add a resolution if you guys all agree to the rental plan.
Yeah, I'm trying to find the rates though. Do we have that? The list? It's in the permit.
I think you could just put,
Can I do resolution accepting the current rental permit fees for a term of 1 year?
Yes.
Okay.
and then you have to do the additional.
For a term of 1 year, 2 years, for a term of 2 years, and the addition of a one-time administrative fee of $250. So moved? No, we're not ready for that yet, but yeah, that's good. Yeah. All right. All right. 7:24.
I need one second.
Oh, nice. In a minute. We're not up to it yet. Can I adjourn this?
Yes. you could-
Motion
that's
to
what I
adjourn
Do we
the.
have open items or anything?
Yeah, the attorney. Okay.
Open
Oh
items for
shoot,
the-
Joe! I totally dissed you. Go. Do you have any open items for the attorney to? I've obviously got an agenda.
I'm sorry to say that I need some time in executive session to discuss some court matters here on the court calendar this month. I'm sorry. I'll make it as brief as.
There it goes. Okay. All right. All right.
So now,
So
now I guess
motion
we can
to
close.
close the, what am I doing? Every time
Motion
I
to
have.
close the work. Oh, excuse me.
Motion,
It
can
should
I
be
adjourn it?
It should be motion to go into executive session, but.
Okay,
before we
motion to
adjourn-
go into executive
Before we
session
end.
at
Somebody wants to
7:25.
make a comment if you have.
No, because it's public comments. We're not up to that yet. So motion to go into executive session at 7:25 PM. So moved.
To discuss pending litigation.
To discuss pending litigation. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Be right back.
All right,
Pause
we'll
this,
be
or-
back. We are pausing the, Ron, we're pausing, oh, what happened? Uh-oh.
Kicked everybody off.
No, it's right here. Ron, we're just pausing this for, we're just gonna pause you and we'll be back in a minute.
Okay. Well, it's gonna take a little longer than I thought, Paulette.
This conference will now be recorded.
I'm not sure what's happening, but I'm not getting any audio.
There, how's that?
Yes, got it.
Alright. Go on. Stormwater violation 1, field appearance tickets 1, building inspection 0, and rental inspections conducted is 1.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. You're welcome. Treasurer's report. Ron, you're up.
Okay. As I mentioned in the executive summary that I sent out, the main issues we're making the transfers to cover the one main variance, which had to do with insurance. Looking at all the other accounts, there are only two other line items that are of concern for the future, and one of them is street maintenance, no surprise. The other one is the village hall expenses, which are looking to be trending over budget. It may require a transfer or appropriation in the future. But other than that, all the other accounts are running on or near close to budget. So right now, I don't foresee having to do anything except deal with the road work. I don't know if anyone has questions. I think my screen's frozen, so I can't tell whether anybody's jumping up and down with concern. Can you hear me? I'm not getting any audio, and the video is frozen. I really don't know whether you've heard me, and I'm not hearing anything, so now I don't have video either. So, and I didn't have video before. I'm not sure if.
Okay, I muted him. I'm gonna just call him.
Okay, I've got audio now.
Oh, okay.
Okay, you're back.
Well, are there any questions? Any more concern? Any other concerns that I can clear up? I've lost audio again.
No.
Yeah.
Are you there?
And now you're back. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I know. Okay. So yeah, Ron, we're good.
Yeah, we're covered. Thank you, Ron. We
There's something
appreciate
going
it.
on with the connection. Yeah, but it's not coming up here. Ron, we're good. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you.
All right.
And I'll sign out then, unless there are any
Okay.
questions.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. See you next month.
Okay. All right. Court report.
Okay, so I have August and September. So for August, total cases open were 7, total cases closed were 6, $4,385. And for September, we had 6 cases open and 6 cases closed. We brought in $600. Year to date total is $2,685.
Okay. Thank you. Public hearing. Motion to open the public hearing to discuss local law of 2024, amending section 169-10 of term of permit fee of chapter 169 vehicles and traffic. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Anybody have any comments regarding the local law of 2024? Vehicles and Traffic, Chapter 169. Anyone? Callers? No callers? Motion to close the public hearing of local law of 2024, amending section 169-10 of term of permit, fee of chapter 169, vehicles and traffic. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, public comments.
Here you go.
Yes, thank you. Do I have to?
Yes.
identify? Okay. Vita Edelson, 25 Birchwood Avenue. I have one brief comment. You folks were talking about Route 25A.
Mm-hmm.
We've talked about Route 25A ever since I've been resident here, which is now 37 years. And nothing has been done about the problem at the corner of Washington and 25A. I think it's really an enormous problem. It's waiting for something really serious to happen. I don't know if anybody has been injured or killed at that spot, but there is no space to really move around people who are facing east and they're trying to come into Washington Street and they're waiting for traffic to go by.
So they're on 25A or they're on
No,
Washington?
they're on 25A.
Okay.
Making a left
And
into.
I mean, from experience, many, many times, it doesn't matter that you have your signal on. I even pump my brakes sometimes because I see cars are really traveling at a much higher speed they should be, which you had noted before. And I'm really concerned that for me and for anybody who's coming into the village, that one of these days, we're gonna have a major problem there. I'm wondering whether, in addition to the note that you're sending having to do with the miles per hour on 25A, the fact that it changes, which it does, whether a suggestion could be made, recommendation perhaps, to put a light in there. Now, I don't know whether this has been discussed recently, but it just, you can't put in another turn lane. That's impossible. But a light, I don't know.
Oh, we can throw it in the mix to ask. I mean, I think we want to get more feedback, but have there ever been accidents there that you know of?
There have been, but I don't know how serious they've been. And I know that DOT is usually looking for data before they'll do anything at all. And I comprehend that, but you know, at what point has the data gone to a top level where you're going to take an action?
Well, I mean, we've got our commissioner of 25A requesting a speed sign. We have a resident who is saying that they're concerned about safety there. So it kind of, you know, gives us a little bit more of a voice to express that to the Department of Transportation and ask them to provide us with, to maybe measure some data. That's not, I mean, I think that's kind of like, let's just do that. Let's just tell them that we have residents that are concerned. We have the consensus on 25A is concerned about the speed. I think for this particular thing, you should take it and let, you know, and you guys can do this call together or whatever, but I think it would be better if there's a representative from the village speaking beyond Jessica, who's just a commissioner, as a trustee. That would be good.
Absolutely.
You're welcome.
Yeah, just to consider possibilities. Thank you.
We're trying to do everything we can for speed. You can see it. We've been trying to make efforts, you know.
I know.
Yeah. Some of it's working pretty well. So, you know, the more we can control it, the better. It doesn't hurt to ask. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments? No? Okay. Resolutions beginning at 8:23. Joe, you want to slow things down a little bit or are you good? Good? All right,
I
ready?
just wanted to,
Stop it. All right.
I just wanted to mention.
No, it's still going.
It was really great to see the showing of Folk out in Riverhead. You know, that's a credit to the village. So many people went to the train to get the training. But also, Nikon has been sending out emails the last day or two about a couple of trainings that they're doing. So Nikon has 4 different training sessions, and as you could do individually, stop making me laugh. And also, they have an election, you know, the election one coming up, which is really valuable. Would you like me to tell you how to?
No, we know.
I'll give you a summary.
No, we don't want it. All right, resolutions. Let's go. Resolution 10-2024-02, resolution adopting October 17th, 2024 agenda as printed. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 10-2024-03, resolution accepting the monthly reports from October 17th, 2024. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution number 10-2024-04, resolution adopting the minutes from the September 12th, 2024 work session of the Board of Trustees meeting. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
You're all in favor on top of me, okay. Go ahead.
Resolution number 10-2024-05, resolutions adopting the minutes from the September 12th, 2024 business session of the Board of Trustees meeting. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Resolution number 10-2024-06, resolution adopting the minutes from the October 1st, 2024 special meeting of the Board of Trustees. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Oh. Resolution 2024-07, resolution to schedule the Village of Pocock Board of Trustees work session beginning at 6 p.m. on November 14th, 2024, with the business meeting to follow immediately. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 10-2024-08, resolution to approve the quote from Royal Pavement Solutions for the installation of speed humps in the amount of, now, are we changing this to do a not to exceed?
Wait,
Right?
resolution to approve the quote from, can we do vendor to be determined? Because we're still waiting for quotes, but I want to approve the amount.
You're supposed to approve the particular contract.
So then just go with this, and if it changes, if this is what we'll do, if we get a lower number, I'll have a special meeting and we'll rescind this and do a new one. But let's approve it for now.
Pending, when is it due by?
It's not. This is just the speed bumps, but I don't want to. It's very hard to find. We haven't found anybody to do it. I have one vendor. I'm waiting for Brookhaven, and Brookhaven's an IMA, so I don't have to get an approval. So I'll rescind this. If Brookhaven comes in cheaper, I will rescind this. And
did you try to get other quotes?
Yeah.
And you couldn't get them?
Mm-mm.
Okay, so then I would just say that at the end of this resolution, I would just add the language that other quotations were solicited in conformance with the procurement policy, but could not be obtained.
Okay, hold on. Conformance?
Yeah, in conformance with the procurement policy, but no other could be obtained.
So moved.
I'm sorry, and can I say, are you still looking for? Are you still looking for quotations?
No, we're not getting any. Can we
Okay,
just
so then
accept it?
Just add that language.
Okay. Resolution to approve the quote from Royal
Well,
Pavement
you are,
Solutions.
You're waiting for Brookhaven's.
Well, I don't know if they're even going to get back to me. I don't know if I asked them if they could do it. I didn't ask them for a quote. So
Okay.
I think let's approve it. And if something changes, we'll have a special meeting. We'll rescind this whole line, and then we'll redo it.
Okay.
Because I just don't want to hold it up a whole month. Resolution 10-2024-08, resolution to approve the quote from Royal Pavement Solutions for the installation of speed humps in the amount of $7,200. Other quotes were solicited in conformance with our procurement policy, but none were obtained. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Resolution 10-2024-09, resolution setting the payment bill approval policy, payment approval threshold to $500. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 10-2024-10, resolution setting the payment fund appropriation and transfer policy transfer terms to twice annually and transfer policy threshold to $2,000. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'll do this one. Resolution 10-2024-11, resolution to approve the quote from Hurricane for tree trimming and removal throughout the village in the amount not to exceed $4,400. So moved. All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Resolution number 10-2024-12, resolution to increase the budget by $4,000, GL code A1910.4 liability insurance. Increase the budget by 2,000 GL code A3005 mortgage tax. Increase the budget by $1,000 GL code A2598 rental permits. Increase the budget by $1,000 GL code A1090 tax penalties and institution interest. Increase the budget by $52,000 GL code A5110.6 chips expense. Increase the budget by $52,000 GL code A3500 chips income. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Looks good. I like the way you did that, too.
Just stalling.
No, seriously, those were, well,
Oh,
Resolution number 10-2024-13, resolution adopting lead agency status for purposes of SECRA State Environmental Quality Review Act with regard to Village Code, amending section 169-10 of term of permit fee of chapter 169 vehicles and traffic, and determining that the adoption of the local law is an unlisted action for purposes of SECRA, that the adoption of the local law will not have a negative impact on the environment, and adopting a negative declaration. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 2024-14, resolution to adopt the local law of 2024, amending section 16910 of term of permit fee of chapter 169 vehicle and traffic. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Resolution 10-2024-15, resolution setting up a public hearing.
You don't need that one. It's
Okay.
tabled.
Oh, no, that's
Property
tabled.
maintenance, yeah.
Okay.
So what do resolution, motion to table resolution 2024-15. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 10-2024-16, resolution setting up a minimum pay for the village building inspector of $500 per month. So moved.
Second.
Recused. You
All
all.
in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 10-2024-17, resolution approving the quote from
Royal.
Royal Pavement Solutions in the amount of
This one's Parkline.
Oh, Parkline.
Asphalt maintenance,
Yeah,
so
actually.
1,400.
$1,400. Okay. Sorry. Resolution approving the quote from Parkline Asphalt Maintenance in the amount of $1,400 for the installation of a berm to address stormwater issues on Birchwood. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution number 10-2024-18, resolution authorizing the village attorney to prepare an agreement with the Settlecott Indians for kelp harvesting and Poquat waters in accordance to terms of agreed upon by the Board of Trustees. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Well, I'll brief you on that. You missed that one, but we'll talk about it before
Can we
8:45.
talk about it?
No. Okay, I'm gonna do, I conveniently missed one, so I'm gonna do resolution 10-2024-19, resolution accepting the current rental permit fees for a term of 2 years and the addition of a one-time administrative fee of $250 for new applications. So moved. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
All right, hold on. All right, you guys ready?
Ready?
We got Brymar Industries in the amount of $477.04. Mount Sinai Deal Alignment in the amount of $140.33. Uline in the amount of $433.30 for a total of $1,050.67. Next, we have Ace Hardware for a total of $59.38, and another Ace Hardware for a total of $158.06 and $17.95. We have Wex Bank in the amount of $164.01 for a total of $322.07. Next, we have Azure Limousine and Transportation for $696. Blue Gas Cleaning in the amount of $400. New York State Department of Canon Financial Services in the amount of $179. New York State Department of Transportation in the amount of $360. Suffolk County Village Officials Association in the amount of $675. Suffolk County Water Authority in the amount of $1,220.91. Suffolk County Water Authority again for $53.18, and Suffolk County Water Authority again for $84.55, for a total of $3,668.64. Home Depot, the total was $22.70. Amazon's total was $192.15. We have Fruit Gas in the amount of $320. Call Ahead in the amount of $80. Construction Technologies in the amount of $195.15. Paul Edelson in the amount of $250. Optimum in the amount of $135.23. Joseph Crow Cup in the amount of $2,800. PSEG in the amount of $470.48. PSEG again in the amount of $14.13. PSEG again in the amount of $878.04. PSEG again for $45.50. Next, we have Small Business Management Solutions in the amount of $551.04. Verizon Wireless for $101.12, for a total of $5,840.69. I'm trying to help you, Joe. Ace Hardware, $53.
Could you repeat that?
Stop it.
Not helping me.
This is, yeah, you're not helping Dave.
Without going over.
Come on, let's
All
go.
right.
Ace Hardware, $53.67. Axe Creatives for $202.50. Call Ahead in the amount of $180. Deluxe Corporation in the amount of $681.28. RS Abrams in the amount of $4,700. Times Beacon Record in the amount of $135.10. Wex Bank in the amount of $106.55. And Winter Brothers Hauling of Long Island for $11,532, for a total of $17,591.10.
Great job. Resolution number 10-2024-20, resolution approving all checks for the voucher report. So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion to adjourn the Board of Trustees meeting October 17th, 2024 at 8:36 p.m.
8:36.
No, 8:10. Oh,
So moved?
Oh.
Second.
All in
My first one
favor?
was 8:37,
Aye.
and then I moved it.
You know who won?
Dave?
Any guesses?
Joe Pro.
No, Jessica.
Steve.